Okay, good evening. This is End the Klein, or Cameron, for those who know. I am making this very, very late night video regarding this video by Richard Hall, because there's several claims he's made in this video, and in standard fashion, comments are disabled, so my idea is to make a video regarding his video, and hopefully we can just bring up some discussion. So Richard Hall in this video has made several remarks about the object and the South Tower impact, with making several different remarks, including one of the most famous South Tower impact videos out there, where a woman can be heard saying, "What the hell is that?" One thing he does leave out is that woman has been interviewed on multiple occasions, and her remark is saying, "What the hell is that?" referring to the aircraft coming in, because living in New York, you see aircraft, but you never see aircraft in that vicinity. And referring to his claim right now that he's just starting on how an airplane would not be able to do the damage it did, or would not. I don't even understand. The truth of the arguments when it comes to the impact vary heavily when it comes to the physics of it, to where I've seen arguments of, well, a steel building would just, an aluminum plane would just bounce right off of it, versus it'll just slice right through. There's seven different remarks, so I don't know which way this guy's remark is going. But the one thing is to say is, he's pointing out you can see my hand here, is of how thin an aircraft wing is, which he is right. An aircraft wing is thin in the aspect of, depending on the aircraft model, it can range from about 1.5 to 2.5 feet from top to bottom in the thickest aspect, but it also does leave out the amount of weight and also the fuel tanks that are in the wing. That is one thing that is usually always left out. And with the remarks to the damage an aircraft can do to a building, that common claim, the number one thing that needs to be noted is, for those who don't really specialize in aircraft or follow the truth of theory, is people believe an aircraft cannot do much damage to a building. One thing to immediately look up would be El Al 1862, a crash in Amsterdam in 92-93 that pretty much eviscerated a corner of an apartment building when the plane was sliced right through it, after it stalled due to severe damage to its right wing and aerodynamic effects from left wing flaps being deployed versus right wing not being deployed. Which, that's one key thing that people do leave out, is the physics of these objects, of a plane hitting a structure. There could be, like, there's just, where do I even begin? There's a common claim that, okay, there's an old claim that the designers designed the tower to be able to survive being hit by a 707. That claim is correct but incorrect, as the way it's being used doesn't interpret the way it was originally meant to be. The Twin Towers were designed to survive long enough to be fully evacuated by being hit by a Boeing 707 that was preparing to land at the airport. So low fuel, flaps, let's say 40 if they're being a little ballsy, and gear down, let's go 175 knots, depending on the pilot. And that would be enough to keep the building standing long enough to be evacuated. The designers of the towers have been quoted, which is often overlooked by truthers, those who believe in the conspiracies, of saying as they are amazed at how long the tower survived that day, because they were hit by something they had never intended or even thought was even possible. The only claim I could think of prior to 9/11 would have been the rumored use of Pan Am 73 that is noted by one passenger on board the aircraft who survived. Though that's just a discrepancy from the official story and whatnot in his book. But that's completely unrelated to the argument at the moment. What is popping up on my phone right now? I don't know. I also don't know where my iPad went. So that's one of the most common claims, and also Sorry, I got distracted. I guess I have messages popping up on my phone. One key, so another thing with it is also, is people often overlook the design of the World Trade Center. And people love to point out, I don't remember, I call it the Inferno Tower in Dubai because it catches on fire every few years, it seems. That's going to be an insurance nightmare. Or that apartment building in London about 7 months ago, I think. They're like, oh, why did that tower collapse when it was on fire for even longer than the Trade Center? You got to compare. Most people often overlook steel frame structures versus concrete structures. I know this is an amazing video quality right here, and also my TV is clearly starting to die, as you can see in it. But a concrete structure is less likely to collapse and also has more support than a steel frame. And also the tower design is also what led to its downfall, and also why so many people died that day. With this design of... So pretty much the tower had two main supports. The outer facade, the outer structure, and the inner support, including the elevator shafts, elevator shafts, stairwells, the inner columns that were all isolated to the center. You can pretty much almost take out one of those, but as long as the other stands and survives, it can maybe survive. You take out the facade and you take out the inner columns, you have a recipe for disaster, as well as also cutting off the lifeline to anyone trapped above the impact zone, as we saw in the North Tower. In the South Tower, however, I still believe this is actually on display at the 9/11 Museum in New York. The plane's angle hit the sky lobby, which is actually what spared, I think, Stairwell C, if that survived. Because thanks to the plane's angle, aside from it massacring everyone in the sky lobby except for, I think, 5 people, with the plane's angle, its wing went into the, I guess you could call it the engineering room for the midsection elevators that operated to the sky lobby and down. Those were enough resistance to be able to stop the wing from being able to continue through the rest of the structure and sparing Stairwell C when, if it honestly been another 7-8 feet higher or lower, Stairwell C would have been knocked out and we would have had a repeat of what happened in the North Tower. That's just the whole chance of the pilots almost missing the point. But what else is there to cover? For the people that say, oh, the plane was edited in, whatnot, which I don't even understand how people can even make that claim. There were thousands and thousands of people who witnessed the plane in person hitting the Trade Center. For those who just say, well, they're paid government actors, whatnot, they weren't really there. That's just, even more astonishing, just crazy act, even more than the, oh, everything was just edited in, that this never happened type of claim. There's just so much to cover in so little time, it seems, but... Richard Hall, I would love to have a true discussion with you on this topic. Several others, I know, would also love to have a discussion on you with this topic, and I would also like to even try and discuss with you about this whole Boeing 767 theory of yours, because we are working on launching an airline, so the 767 is an aircraft we have interest in, so we might be able to get you up close to one, so you can see one and get some understanding on the theories behind your theory of it. Don't know if it'll help you or not, but it'll be an interesting discussion nonetheless. And I also gotta say that one final thing that I still am astounded by is because I also haven't finished watching this video. I'm only 12 minutes into a 36-minute video. The one claim that I do see a lot that I still don't understand how people can think this is the theory, actually my favorite theory I love seeing, of people saying that the plane that hit the South Tower was a military plane because of the colors of it. Which, my favorite part of that is they usually post a picture of United's post-Continental merger livery Like, see, this is not the same library, when they ignore that United's library at the time was the Battleship Grey. Which, honestly, I still am torn on if I actually like it or not. Sorry, hello guys. Midnight here. Another part of that theory that I just find astonishing are the people that believe these planes were remote controlled and were completely empty. That believe that, oh, no one died. I don't understand those theories, those claims. Because if you know remote control, like if you watch the famous Boeing 720 crash landing fuel test from, I want to say it was Renton Air Base. Renton, I don't know. You'll know that test messed up and botched due to the failing of the remote control system, much like the 727 video that is popular online as well, showing that it was the remote controlling of the aircraft was not reliable at all. One was done back in the 70s, the Renton one, the 720, so that's obvious. But the one that was done with the 727 was, I want to say 2010, 2011-ish, when that was taken. And the technology for remote controlling an aircraft is truly, aside from the autopilots, to remotely control an aircraft from the ground is nearly impossible, because you got electronic delays and everything. Like, to say, oh, well, we can control drones from the ground, that's even a completely different ballpark, which, itself is another challenge of its own. To be able to fly a plane remote controlled so precisely, or in the aspect of these so imprecisely, would be just staggering. And I'm killing my phone battery apparently. I was at 50% when I started, and I'm now at 20. But there's so much to this discussion, this video, with this entire topic, that'd be very much well worth discussing with you, if possible, though I know it's probably not. Because, honestly, most of the time when I try discussing with truthers, or those who question the official theory, or have the different theories on what happened, or believe whatnot, it tends to quickly fall into blocking, just blocking right away, while also then continuing the discussion, acting like they didn't block the person, that looked like they were victorious. Or you got the ones that just usually spam memes, or keep asking, what happened to Building 7, what happened to Building 7, Building 7, Building 7, and no matter how much data you provide, they just keep repeating the same question, which I would very much enjoy trying to just have this discussion with you, Richard, and hopefully it would be a nice discussion rather than most arguments with truth as I have, which currently I am actually kind of involved in one. I kind of stopped paying attention to it, because I commented when it was about 15 comments, and it's now at about 2,700 comments. And that is a nightmare trying to keep up with. And especially it's mostly the same comments involving Building 7, the Pentagon, which even with pointed out stuff, they're like, that's just Photoshop, why not this, that, everything. So I haven't paid much attention to that, but I do enjoy this discussion area. And we would be very happy to discuss with you, Richard Hall. So that's the end of this.